Hello, everyone. This is John Lee with the John Lee Real Estate Podcast. I am here with guest Aldo. Aldo is a good friend of mine. We've been in the business together with real estate, right? And just want to introduce our guest to him. More specifically, Aldo, if you want to introduce yourself to us and what you got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. I'm pretty happy to be in your podcast. We just found out, or at least I just found out that this was the top 10 podcast in a Philadelphia or greater Philadelphia market. So kudos to that. I think
Well, shit, I just figured that out when you texted me. So,
that's but yeah, my name
yeah.
is Aldo Chandra. I've been in real estate for about 7 years. Started pretty young, and during that time, I was doing multiple different kind of ventures and decided to go all in on real estate just because I went to a Nick Tang event here in Philadelphia and got through a mentorship, worked with him for free for 6 months, and that's when I did my fix and flips and raised private capital on that. And then ever since then, been skill stacking. Been going through like commercial developments, doing ground up constructions with big firms as well. And then just recently, earlier of 2025, I was let go from a small developer firm that I was working at, and then go jump all in on wholesaling and real estate acquisitions in general. And then eventually I built my own software where it kind of encapsulates all in one. So everyone don't really have to go through multiple different softwares, and we could go deep into that. And nowadays people know me as like the AI guy, that it's prop tech and things like that. So I'm pretty happy, and I've AI is such a huge thing nowadays, but some people may understand it a little bit of it, and I'm hoping that I could expand more of what that looks like here in the real estate world that we live today.
Sure. So let's talk a little bit about that. So obviously, you made a pivot from going into being part of working with developers, wholesaling to kind of doing your own thing, and then getting into actual AI tech. So just for our listeners, like walk us through your beginning of the journey and kind of where you are now.
Yeah, so after, it was such a crazy moment at times, and I wish that could have happened for me earlier. Shifting from like a W-2 into like a full-time entrepreneur, right? And what that means is like you're a hunter, like you're always hunting for things to make you money, and also so you could pay your, expenses and responsibilities and things like that. So in the beginning, it was tough, and I was working under a wholesaler, and I was doing dispo, and they had like this new system. I was testing it out, and I had, previous experience with Podio and other CRM tools, REI Reply, and I was learning it as we go. And as soon as like I went to these different teams, I realized there was a gap, and I was trying things out on my own on top of working with the team, and realized that there are so much different avenues within real estate. Like people are, when they first start, I'm pretty sure one of the things that people do paralysis analysis is that they try out different things, learning different things, right? Different softwares, different systems. And at the end of the day, what is the most important thing for an investor to do, which is close more deals? That's how you become successful. That's how you keep your business sustainable. And those are super important. So for me, it's like I saw all the gaps, I saw all the problems, and then just like tailor it in a way where, if I'm just by myself, which I was at the time, how can I make this so easy for me to just focus on warm leads, for me to close on those leads, for me to send a contract within a matter of seconds and find comps with a matter of seconds, for me to get the deal done, and then do whatever I want with the deal, whether that's a wholesale, whether I do a fix and flip, whether I do rentals. And we've seen, good return on that, just because AI is driving that through the pre-qualifications and all the automation that goes behind it.
Yeah. So it seems like because you were obviously in the real estate space, whether it was wholesaling, whether it was, obviously analyzing deals, doing your own flips, doing your own deals, you kind of realize the pain points of it from being inside of it, right? Like being inside of the job, and then you just found the solution. Does that sound right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people, they're either, and most real estate people are like this, where they're sales, right? They go through these conferences, they love talking to people, they love solving problems through communications. You have the opposite end of people who are marketing, right? They tend to be a little bit of an introvert, techie guys, but they're very, very smart in their own ways. And to be able to understand both sides and to do both skill sets, I think that's huge in this day and age where you're able to see all the technical stuff and capabilities and going through all these technical coding and things like that, translating that into like a very simple conversations and then going to see like the industry knowledge of what problems can I solve through that. I think that's huge. And I think that's what we've built.
Mm. I would definitely say that a lot of sales guys also lose sight of the fact that there is technology. Like AI is obviously growing so quickly, and it's kind of like you have to respect it, right? Like, I know the sales part of it, like, because obviously I'm in sales, you're in sales, or you're doing a lot of sales things. Like there has to be some level of respect for these people that are going out there and creating these things because truly, like you definitely want to work smarter, not harder, right? So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, overall though, what do you think overall as far as the landscape of the current AI technology, the capability of what it has and what it's done for you, and more specifically for like what you're trying to build out in your business?
Absolutely. So right now we've seen so much different real estate softwares, not just my own, like specialized real estate softwares that's doing a lot of data AI, like machine learning. So what that means is that you're looking at a great set of data, whether that's public data or whether that's data that people pull themselves, and using AI to determine the levels of motivations and then sell that motivated data to people who are looking for better leads, right? Better data. So we've seen that in multiple different channels, and there's so many different prompting, and there's so many different things that you go on a back end to manipulate it in a way that it makes sense. And then there's the other side of AI automations and integrating using what it's called like APIs. That's kind of like an integrator. So you do one software to another software, you mix it together to do whatever task that you want. What happens is like they combine both. It's like a teamwork, but more on like technology stuff, and then eventually it'll pop out to whatever things that you wanted to get done. The better way to do example is what we have. So we have like a data resource that we use, and then we have this thing called like a API to pull those data into our comping tool. So we have like a get comps button, and then eventually it will pop out based on the data that we provide into our CRM. So that one person can just click a button and it'll show all the comps and then the ARV and the CMV. Obviously, comping is more of an art than a science, in my opinion. You always want to verify those information, but that is an example of the AI that we're going through. On top of that, there's a next level of AI that we've implemented, which is using AI agents. So
Mhm.
within AI agents, and what is that, right? AI agents is essentially a set of automations, and what a set of automations is a workflow. Like if this happened, then this happened. And AI agents goes a level deeper of if this happened, think about all these contacts and based on your knowledge base, which is their brain, make a decision, then this happened. So in real life, so what we've done is we pre-qualify our leads. And what that means is once a lead comes in, whatever marketing resources that you have, it goes through multiple different pillars or questionnaires. And it asks the simple questions as if any salesperson is going to ask once a lead comes in a real estate world, right? What is price? What is motivation? What's your timeline? What's your condition? And maybe what's the occupancy right now? Is it vacant? Or if there's a tenant in there or it's owner occupied. So one is it go through all those questionnaires, it books the appointments, and therefore that's when our acquisition guys, and that's either myself or my acquisition guy comes in, we would have that conversations and we would close on the deal if the numbers make sense. So that's typically like alleviate like 60 to 70% of the entire process from like data pulling to having multiple different conversations with sellers and then focusing on like closing that deal.
So, like, I mean, walk us through that whole process, 'cause, like, where, like, obviously for an experienced investor who kind of who already has experience with buying or selling houses or looking to acquire new deals, this seems very, how do I say it, easy to understand. But for someone who is just starting, how would this kind of technology be very feasible or easy for them to either pick up or even use?
We make it super, super easy. So even that like someone who's just starting out and not knowing real estate can just focus on like the leads themselves because at the end of the day, the most important thing is like the leads that's coming in. Like as leads coming in, that's when you come in as a real estate investors to like work on those, right?
Hmm.
Uh, so you focus on just two things. And if you're any type of investor, whether it's newbie or whether that's your super, super experience in two things. One is the conversations. So make sure you're constantly having these conversations with the sellers. And then number two, understanding your pipeline or your deal flow. Like those two things are probably the most important, and we do the rest of it. For someone who's just starting out, obviously there's a little bit of real estate knowledge that you should know, but we do help you out in a way that we get the leads for you, and then we do all the data analysis to determine whether the deal is good or not. And what does that mean? We provide a comping tool for you. And then also, once you have a conversations with each seller, every conversations is recorded, transcribed, and we have this super, super long prompt that essentially summarizes the information and even give you a strategy or a recommendations of what to do thereafter. So it's super easy for someone to just analyze it and then make a determination whether this is a deal or not. And obviously, as you progresses along with experience, with more conversations, you're able to dictate what is the right fit for you. If it's not the right fit for you, you can still submit that offer, and then another investor can buy that deal, and then you still make a little bit of money.
That's awesome. So, I mean, walk us through how someone who is interested in real estate investing could use this tool, and then also walk us through what steps they need to do to develop their skills so that they can learn and honestly take advantage of it.
I guess it's one answer. It's through repetitions, right? Constantly doing the same thing will provide you some sort of mastery at that given skill. When you're using our software, especially if you're starting out, I would suggest getting like the lowest tier where there's a minimum amount of automations and just trying things out manually. And I think that's how you do it in life too. You want to, if you really want to get good, really good at sales, especially in real estate, don't try to like cold calling or don't try to texting, but try to door knocking. Like, right, just be in person, in front of the person. It might sound intimidating in this day and age, right? Because nowadays people can phone strong arm you and then just hang up on you, but when you're at the door, you're there, you get nervous. But then as you progresses along where you start scaling and then you're doing thousands of leads per day, and then you have to set up appointments where because your time is limited, that's when all the training and the repetition that you're going through pays off. Like that's super, super important. And our tools is amazing and it's definitely done for you. It's super, super easy. However, there are still the set of levels that you need to go through in order to be, for example, for at your level, John, I'm pretty sure you went through so much different conversations with sellers. I'm pretty sure you went through with buyers too, from like the agent side. And I think that's because you went through all the struggles of having that initial conversations and also providing value and closing more deals, and you got better
Mhm.
and better and better. And I think that's just in life, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's definitely a certain skill set that's required, regardless of like how do I say how good your tool or the actual AI technology is. Especially like when you're in sales, it's still going to end up being a skills-based game. You're right. I also agree with you. Even in my current practice as a realtor, I always try to meet with the person face to face, uh, because I think for me, it's more about meaningful connection and building that rapport that way. And yeah, I think that's just kind of my style, so to speak. You can either go with quantity, right? You go with as many people as you can and try to like go really wide, or you try to really drill down and you go with quality, right? So I think you can look at it from two perspectives, but I do think that there's value in the tool, especially when you are trying to streamline things, especially when you're trying to reach out to as many people as you can, sending out contracts as quickly as you can. So Yeah, I mean, I think to segue into something a bit different, I mean, you got into real estate, right? Walk us into your journey in real estate before you actually got into this whole AI tech thing.
My real estate journey started when I was in college. As I mentioned earlier in this podcast, like I bought my first deal and then start skill stacking from there. However, the reason why I did that was because I didn't have that much network. I felt like I didn't have the capital resources, and I was still building up the skills. And I think that's what a lot of people should do, especially going into real estate. I was blessed enough that my jobs was translated into my day to day, like my real estate, whether that's underwriting, constructions, understanding deals, looking at deals constantly. It's just on a bigger scale. But my journey started off with working for free for someone for 6 months. I was actually doing a cold calling myself. Like I was sitting down in a room, and at the time my mentor Greg, he had this room. There's no windows. So it felt like prison, and like I was in there. I was like having conversation. I was like at Mojo and with the Mojo dialer was like triple line dialer, and I was
Triple
like
line dollar,
had
yeah.
like my headphones with wires, and we're like, yes, this is Aldo, and are you looking to sell your home? Like no confidence, nothing, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually it got a lot better of setting up more appointments and then hiring a VA so I could teach the VAs. So that is how I started in my real estate journey. And then consequently, it went up even further and further where I try out many different skill sets. So I understand just, I wouldn't say everything, but enough for me to get by and to start my own business. And I would suggest that with everyone, where when you're first starting out, you have so much different options in real estate. You could go like with what John does, being a realtor and being an investor. You could do appraisal. You could do so much different things within real estate. It's the matter of like focusing what you're really, really good at. And this is also another key too. Yes, focusing what you're good at might be tough in the beginning because there's so much different things and you don't know what you're good at that point. And that's where a mentor comes in. Like a mentor is super, super important where it's like they have so much experience that they know like what's working and what's not. And you can utilize that and leverage that knowledge that they've went through because they went through so much different mistakes, horror stories, and they're more than happy to talk about it
Mhm.
only to help you out. The purpose of that is so you can select like what's working and what's not working and focus on that and have someone's working behind you and telling you like don't do this, do that. Make sure you're coachable and make sure you execute. Not only that, like I think a lot of people use as mentors as knowledge, right? Because they see like if I have to pay for a mentor, like what's their experience, what their knowledge. What they don't see is like the network that goes behind that said mentor. They have so much people behind them that like they know if you're going through like a rehab, for example, and you're looking for a certain tradesman, that mentor might know that a certain tradesman that they work for numbers of years and more trustworthy, and they could recommend you. And I think that's super, super huge, especially just starting out because you don't know where you're going to go. And that mentor is like a guide for you to like tell you where to go. Hopefully, you'll be just as successful, if not more successful than that mentor, and they'll be more than happy to help you out. But the most important thing is that don't go up to people and be like, hey, can you mentor me? The most important thing is that you look at that mentor, research that, like go super detective, right? Sherlock Holmes on that mentor. Be like, hey, what are they doing? What are their struggles? Focus on their struggles and figure out how you could provide value first. And then that's when you have that conversations of like, hey, this is my goal. This is what I'm trying to achieve. It looks like you've been there. Can you teach me? Like that's the best way to do it, not just ask for like, can you mentor me?
Yeah, no, that's awesome because it's funny because Igor and I, your mentor, right? We were kind of we were hiking one day and we kind of talked about that like, hey, how often do you get approached by people and they ask you like what's the right and wrong way of approaching someone for help, right? And for me, and Igor, one of the common things that we found, and even for our listeners to kind of listen up on, is we found that the people who tend to ask very specific questions, that's kind of where it starts. It doesn't mean that we're gonna be, hey, we're gonna mentor you, but like very specific, not like how many times do people go up to someone and says, can you be my mentor? Like it just sounds so awkward. It's like
Yeah.
it's like, hey man, can you? can I have sex with you? It just doesn't make sense. Like like I think it needs to be a very like corded way of asking some kind of question, like, and a very specific question that they typically won't be able to have an answer. And then we dive into it a little bit like in detail, and then we try to provide answers. Like the approach that most good mentors do is they actually provide those answers without even charging you. Like
Yeah,
they'll give you all the answers that you need for free, but it comes to a certain point where the person is like, all right, well, I'm not extremely confident. Do you want to partner up on it, or do you want to, I can pay you for coaching time. Like there's things that then conversations end up coming from it. But I
yeah.
think most of the times, I think a lot of the mentoring comes from a very specific question. And I could be wrong here, but you tell me kind of how you were able to find the good people. I mean, you've had several mentors, right? So you can kind of explain and at least give me your thoughts there.
I think the most important thing before reaching out a mentor is you tried. Like not you tried reaching out to the mentor, but you actually tried at whatever skill set that you want. If somebody goes up to you, John, like, how do I become a realtor? How do I make money in real estate? You're gonna be like, maybe you answer it, but on the opposite of your brain, you're gonna be like, oh my God, here we go. Right. Or like, dude,
Yeah.
there's so much knowledge and so much resources online, or even go to ChatGPT and you could type that in. However, it's a different scenario if someone is trying out, hey John, like I've been in real estate for a couple of months now. I've been sending out offers. I have this buyers and looking at multiple different deals. There's a specific problem that I'm going through. Have you done it in the past? Like what I love to ask to mentors is like their experience, because any basic questionnaires where it's more technical stuff and kind of like stuff that you could find online. Like there's so much AI to it. Like Perplexity is really good for research and you could just type it in and ask it right away. But when it comes to experience, like there's no level of AI can replace
Yeah.
experience. Like that is super important. And that's what I try to get from all my mentors. Like, hey, listen, I'm going through this tough situations right now. I've tried X, Y, and Z. They're not working. However, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? And that's like super important. And I'm pretty sure you'll be able to, it requires you to think more as opposed to like, oh, I know the answer to that. Or maybe you do have the answer to
Mhm.
that, but it creates a better conversations. It creates a challenge. It creates a problem for you to solve together. And that's how you grow and that's how you learn.
Yeah, I always respect the people that actually, when you like get an IKEA furniture set and then you have the like instructions. I always appreciate the people that actually like read the instructions and then actually do the instructions. Because then that just shows you that you've at least done some level of research, right? And some level of action. You do need both, right?
Yep.
There's some level of confidence that a lot of beginners don't have that way, like a mentor or someone can kind of like facilitate that. But you're right. Someone who just asks a very general question or not a specific question to me is like yeah, like you said, you can get all this information online, right? Like there needs to be a little bit of action behind it, which is correct. So I do
And it's
agree.
it's it's kind of shows their character. It shows that you're trying to be lazy and you're also trying to shortcut your way, hoping that you're going to get free knowledge. Maybe you do get a free game.
Yeah.
However, just maybe try it out a little bit. Like I have so much different people that ask me, it's like, how do I get into real estate? It's like, well, are you asked? I think the split of question that you're trying to ask to me is like, how do I make money using whatever you do to make money?
Yeah.
Right? There's always
Yeah.
the underlying intentions behind every question.
Yeah.
So that you have to kind of decipher that and to see if the answer that they're looking for is the right one.
Right. And a lot of those answers, like those basic questions, are also basic answers. And
Absolutely.
like most of the times they don't even like that answer that I give them. I'm just like, I'm sorry. Like I wish I can give you like the magic bullet of like the answer or like something very special or hoo-ha, But unfortunately that's most of the times that's not the case. But yeah, like very, very good point that you brought out. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like I know that you've learned a lot, you've grown through a lot. Like, are there some key takeaways that you have from each profession because you maybe this is something that we can kind of talk about as well. Like, You literally went from a W-2 to then being like, yo, F it. I'm gonna do this whole thing on my own. Like that's a very scary thing, especially for someone like, because you're a young guy, right? Like very scary for someone that's young. Like how did you overcome that barrier? What were some of the experiences that you took away from each job and some of the good things that you took away from it and some of the scary things that you probably, like most people are going to ask you, right? Questions about like how'd you do it, right? Let's take this let's break this up and let's take it into pieces here.
Got it. So I'll start off with the benefits of being in the route that I took. And what I took was the traditional route. I went to school, graduated, got a job right away, interned there, and then got a full time. Right? It's very basic. I think that's what quote unquote the American dream looks like, at least from my parents' perspective. However, I think that I was still an entrepreneur at heart. Like I was doing things outside of my full time job, and I was doing things outside of college as well. And I think that's super important when you're a young person just trying to start out. Try out as many different things as possible. Take calculated risk and get mentors. That's number one. Number two is wherever that you're going, make sure that you're learning because if you're learning and you're earning, you're golden at the same time. And that's what happened to me. However, when you're going to a job, you understand that what is the purpose of me being here? So awareness, right? Uh, and I think Hone is like after reflection value or something like that. That's what he did, ARV. So
Mhm.
it's like constantly be aware of where you are right now and then reflect on it constantly. So I was in my job because of two things. One, the lack of capital that I have at the time. And then number two, the lack of network that I had at the time maybe a number three in the lack of skills that I have. So within Toll Brothers, like they put me into a different like I call it Toll Brothers University, where they're like land acquisitions, accounting, project management, construction, sales, like everything I've learned along the way. And what I've learned also in the corporate world, the organizations of it is super important because in a corporate world, think of it as like you're a cog on a wheel. Like there's people specialize in a certain skills and it's like an assembly line where one person do this then it goes to the next person that do this the next person go do this and I was trying to learn every skill set of the way and then that's when my last W2 I was doing everything all at once because it was a startup and a boutique firm that it's only like two or three people and you're doing 15 or so different like development projects and
Mhm.
you're doing the entire process so it was quite difficult. However, when I stopped the W2 and it was very scary and a little bit of cutthroat in my opinion of I went to lunch with the owner. He was like, this is your last day. It was a Friday. There was no severance package. And then coming on Monday, it's like, hey, you're
You're
out of
done.
luck.
Yeah.
Luckily enough, I was doing, like I mentioned earlier, like a side hustle. I was kind of wholesaling on the side at that time for a couple of months. So then that's when I focused on like really going nitty gritty on my business and in my business that like I start cutting out everything that I didn't need. I was like, I was spending money on like VAs that wasn't doing much, or I was using softwares that we wasn't using for its fullest capability. So I cut those out and I focus on like what is working, what is the right data, what's the right softwares. And then that's when I start building it. But at the same time, I feel as though my time should have been cut shorter in a corporate world because I was feeling so comfortable. I was feeling comfortable at like going into work. Just tell me what to do. I'll get it done. I finish 5 o'clock. I'm bouncing, and then I could do whatever I want. It was so easy that it felt stupid for me to leave because it felt so good. However, it doesn't fulfill me.
Right.
When I went to the entrepreneur route, and John, you probably can attune to this, you work so much. Like it's not even a 9 to 5. It's like 9 to 9, like 9 a.m. to 9 a.m. Like it's a 24-hour constant battle in your mind, in your business of how to improve it, how to optimize it, and how to make it better and make more money and be more sustainable. Like that's the constant thing that I think about in my business. And also, like now that I run a second business of software, like that's what I'm constantly doing, like 13-hour days, doing double workouts and having responsibilities for families. Like that's super huge. And I think work-life balance is more work than life nowadays, but I'm trying to tailor that in a way that it makes sense. And obviously with me with no kids, I'm able to do that, but it's definitely different. And I'm trying to prepare for that when it's different. And I know a lot of dads are like, well, you don't know when's that gonna happen. I was like, maybe, but at the same time, I'm slow, not slowly, but like I'm trying to prepare for that stage of life.
Bro, I can tell you right now. How old are you, Aldo?
26.
Yeah, so I could tell you right now, man, like when I was your age, I always had like people that were older than me that would always say like, "Well, wait until you get married." And then I got married, right? And then they would say, "Oh, wait until you have a kid." And then I have a kid, you know? And here I am, I'm still projecting the same kinds of like the mindset, right? Of the entrepreneur, right? The spirit of the entrepreneur. So yeah, you definitely have to have it. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. I think most people kind of know right away if they are destined to be one. I would also say this to encourage you. Like, bro, like you're doing everything right. Like everything that you're supposed to be doing, you're doing it right. And definitely wish you like the most success, the super most success. Um, I mean, apart from that, I do want to at least leave you some time to share to our audience. Anything in particular that you want to share as far as what you got going on, more specifically with the CRM? What's the best way for them to either look it up online, reach out to you, ask questions, Instagram, social media? Like, what's the best way for them to reach you or ask questions?
Absolutely. So Aldo Chandra in all platforms. You can find me in any social media. My platform is called Automize, which is automate and optimize, automizecrm.com. That's when you're going to see it. And then you could book a demo call so we could show you how to help your business succeed and get you more deals.
Okay. All right. Well, Aldo, thank you so much, and looking forward to hearing from you.
Absolutely. Thanks,
All right,
John.
all right, homie. I'll talk to you.
John Lee Real Estate, found you the best rates. All throughout Philly like Schuylkill Expressway. Talking to people who out of